Well, welcome back to another edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse. It's November 3rd. Of course, I'm shooting this in advance, and I don't know what world events will transpire between today and when this airs. But anyway, November 3rd, man. God, it's been 22 years, and Norman Bril from Liquidators has been gone 22 years. And that's 22 years today. A guy who was like a brother to me, crazy fucker, gave me a job when I needed it, when I was down and out. I don't know what else to say, man. It's just like, I guess, history. I had heard of Norman when he owned Norman's House of Deals, when he got busted for the Rolex watches way before I knew him. His name in New York was legendary, and then he opened New York City Liquidators, which was on West 27th Street, right at the ESN toward 8th Avenue. Anyway, what happened was somebody got a hold of me and said they had access to all these new releases on VHS. So I ordered a bunch. And when he got them, they were blatant bootlegs, and we went back and forth at a shout and match and shit like that. He inadvertently broke the hustler's code by letting it slip where they got him. So one Sunday, I was on 27th Street because I used to deal with a bunch of people up top off of Broadway, like Tepti Trading and Cowboy Trading and people like that. So I went down and I found New York City Liquidators. So I walked in, I introduced myself, I told him what I was looking for, he hooked me up, and I kept going back. And in going back, you run into the whole, bootlegging operation that was going on, which I was at one point oblivious to because I didn't know what was going on, to be honest with you. And in the beginning, I was buying my porn, and he had stuff in a glass showcase behind the counter. And I saw titles like Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and Document of the Dead. Well, I wanted to see Document of the Dead, so he sold me a copy for $15. Now, I didn't know these were bootleg. I thought they were hot because he was notorious for getting stolen shit in there. So I took it home and had basically, a screened label on it instead of a paper label on it, and I watched it, and to me it was real. I mean, there was no glitches, no dropouts, no nothing. I thought it was a real tape. So what I didn't know was that basically that's what he was doing. And it's something that I pretty much stayed away from. Let me tell you something. Until they cheaped out, and this whole load of shitty tapes came in from China called Spartan tapes, they were doing all right until they used the cheap low-grade tape and everything started fucking up. And then, they keep cheaping out. The boxes would be offset, and it was weird because if you went there on a Thursday, you'd see a little Toyota station wagon would pull up and sit there until they opened, and they load a whole bunch of cases of what we thought were blank tapes out, and they were taking them in the back room and shrink wrapping them, and the ink on the boxes was still wet on some of this shit. So, and it got, weirdly it got more professional. Warner Brothers had the things screened on, the side of the tape. They would have that on there too. It was amazing how far they would go and how good some of this shit was and how shitty some of it turned out. Myself, I figured out a way because, like I said, I was buying out stores and shit, and was still Betamax available. And sometimes you got a beta tape in a VHS box with a beta label snapped on it, a little cardboard stopper to keep the thing in. Thing was, I found out that you could transfer beta to VHS without a glitch. So what I would do is I'd get either a used or a blank tape or a movie I couldn't sell, get the beta, transfer it over to VHS, switch the labels, rip off the part that said beta, and bang. That was the extent of my little bootlegging operation, except for certain shit like Cannibal Holocaust and stuff like that. But anyway, going back to Norm. We had a lot of adventures, and a lot of screaming and yelling matches and things like that. We were like brothers. We got along, we fought, we had differences of opinion, whatever. I just regret that my last conversation with him was basically cursing him out, which is something I will never forgive myself for. There was a bunch of shit going on. He was not doing well health-wise. I was filming that movie Unconventional that weekend. I left with a bad taste in my mouth because he brought back a guy I knew who was ripping him off. And while I was doing unconventional, he passed away, and I had gotten 3 phone messages, but my phone was shut off while we were shooting the movie. And it was from one of the girls, Vashti, in the front, and she goes, "Pete, call me." Second one, "Pete, you gotta call me." Third one, "Norman's dead." I got that in the middle of this, doing this movie, and that fucking flatlined me, and I had to go to my room and like basically cry my eyes out for like a half hour. And they asked me if I could finish, and I said, "Yeah, I'll finish." And then I had gone to the funeral that Monday, right from Chiller, and was asked to help liquidate the store. What I didn't know was that his asshole family, this was a family he'd married into, really didn't like what he did but profited by it, and they basically destroyed the business he built up. They basically made some kind of fucking side deal with a guy that was fucking Norman over at one point and sold out to him. In doing that, they turned away 3 tractor trailers from California that were paid for already and 2 from Canada that were paid for already. So basically, me and the staff could have kept this fucking thing going. And I was approached by the people that owned Caballero to keep it going, things like that. The problem was there was just too many fucking situations that would have arisen, and with Norm gone, my mental state wasn't good. I was in a bad relationship that would erupt into me almost getting killed, and my head wasn't in it. Probably if my head had been more in it, I'd still be there and could have made the place a go, but I couldn't. So that's the way it went down. And like I said, Norm had a bunch of medical problems. I think they were trying to, I don't know, the thing where they shove that thing down your throat to keep you going. I think what they told me was that he was really frustrated about the whole thing and really in pain, and they tried to do it and he yanked it out. He goes, "I'd rather die than do this," and then he died. And I'll tell you, the outpouring of the customers, the police, it was amazing, but the fucking problem was that his family didn't give a shit and just wanted to get rid of it. And I don't have that many, I couldn't dig that out, but here's a pic of Norm with Gina Fine at the Adult Video Show, or the East Coast Video Show down in Atlantic City. Here he is with, I guess her name was, I can't remember her name. Somebody he used to come in and visit him, one of his buddies. And then another shot of Norm just out there having fun. And I'll just throw this in with me and his friend Minaj, and I just couldn't measure up in the tongue department, but I really never got a chance to prove it. So that was the end of an institution in New York City Liquidators. Movie collectors from all over would flock there to go through the piles of VHS and beta tapes and whatever else he had. Whenever there was a Fangoria convention, after it let out, the dealers would go over there to replenish their stock. And I got a lot of shit for getting Norm a spot in Chiller because that way he, brought it to the source. So, like I said, it's a sad time because not only did I lose Norm around this time of the year, over the past few fucking years of COVID and shit, Carter Stevens, Mike Mindless, Annette Hines, Gary Kent, Gary Clark. It's sort of depressing that a lot of people that I had close relationships with are gone. But Norm, buddy, I miss you. I'll share something else with you. I had a dream one night that I was somehow standing in front of Liquidators, and this black Lincoln pulled up, and the door opened, and Norm was sitting in there, and I went to get in the back, and he turned to me and he goes, "No, it's not time yet," and I woke up. I don't know what that was all about, but I do hope I see you in the hereafter, if there is such a thing, with all my other friends and, people that have, gone already. And like I said, man, I miss the fuck out of you. I miss our screaming matches. I miss the fun we used to have down in Atlantic City. I just miss the whole fucking madness that used to occur over there every fucking day for the 5 years that I was there. And I cherish those memories. So, sorry that this is a little bit of downer, but I got to pay tribute to my buddy, my brother, who was a real brother to me, not like the shitbag brother that I have from birth. But like I said, buddy, I miss the fuck out of you. I really do. I wish we could have kept it going because it was a trip. It was a ride I'll never forget. And I'll never forget, you giving me a job when I needed it the most and helping me out when I really needed help and just fucking being there, for lack of better words. So That's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back Wednesday with some action-adventure films that I just checked out. So until then, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.